Welcome, everybody, to Hope for Our Times. And listen, I have a very special guest. She has been such a blessing to me for a long time. And I know to most of you out there, you already know her. She doesn't need an introduction, but I'm going to give her one anyways. Jan Markell is joining me today. She's a founder and a renowned host of Understanding the Times, began her ministry in the Messianic movement and established Olive Tree Ministries in 1982. Her weekly program is broadcast on over 1,000 stations across the U.S. and is also accessible from her ministry's website, olivetreeviews.org. Jan, thank you for joining me.
Tom, thank you for having me.
This is outstanding. I know you're super busy, and to be able to take time out with me, I mean, what a blessing for me. You have a new book that was just released. I want to ask you about that. You have an article that I picked up. It's been everywhere now, and I want to get into that because that article, Jan, what is it? God's Intervention and the Sprint Towards the Antichrist, Top 10 Bible Prophecy Stories of 2024. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just see the world cheering for the Antichrist. I mean, I think that's kind of obvious. I mean, I think the biggest tip-off, Tom, was Kamala Harris when somebody in the audience cried, Jesus is Lord, Christ is King. And then, I mean, there was a meltdown. Really? Is that so offensive? Here at the end of 2024, we can't say Jesus is Lord without really being mocked and scoffed. Well, why are we surprised? But anyway, that was a terrible, terrible offense. And I just was reminded that, the world's not cheering for Jesus Christ. They're cheering for the Antichrist.
Oh, absolutely. As you look at everything that's going on, can I ask you this? The Kamala Harris, that whole thing, I mean, Jesus doesn't belong here. I mean, I'm going, well, yeah. And neither do you, but that's another story. But let me ask you this. What do you think was the most surprising or impactful story for you this year? And how does it fit into the larger biblical narrative of end times?
Well, I think the rush to the one world system, just where is that going? We have the globalists who signed their pact for the future in September. I think they thought they were on their way to one world government. And then we have, somebody come along, by the name of Donald Trump, and not to promote him here necessarily. And then you've got Yuval Noah Harari saying of Trump. Now remember, moments ago, I just said they came up with their pact for the future at the UN in September. And then Harari comes out and says, with the election of Donald Trump, this is a death blow to the global order. Well, which is it? Is it on the future? Is it on the horizon? This pact for the future, one world government, or did Donald Trump? Tom, that nothing stops the rush to Revelation 13. Nothing. Donald Trump doesn't stop it. Nothing stops God's plan of the ages. But I think you've got some globalists who are shaking their head.
Oh, I would think they are. And absolutely, I can't imagine any of them just laid down their weapons of whatever they use for their global kingdom and said, well, it's all over. Let's just go home. There's no way that they would do that.
No, but I think that's a stunning story that came out of this current year, 2024. I think many think there's a death blow now to the globalist agenda, but don't be fooled, folks. It's racing towards the finish line.
There's no way that they've held that death blow. It is definitely racing towards the finish line. With this, let me ask you a few questions based on your article. In it, you commented on Kamala Harris. That was the first point. When you come to the second one, announcing the Antichrist, the soon arrival of Antichrist was pre-announced at the Summer Olympics. He even rode on his predicted white horse. How do I know? Because of the debauchery of the entire event. God, Jesus, and Christians were denigrated. Jesus was portrayed by an obese homosexual at the Last Supper. Around the world, Christians rightfully changed the channel, but the globalists were bold to stage this event. So your first point was cheering for the Antichrist, Kamala Harris. Second one, announcing the Antichrist. It's like being proclaimed to the world. We have a new leader for you.
Well, he even rode on the white horse, and that was the opening ceremony of the Olympics. I've never seen anything, and I mean, I didn't watch it live, and I think most Christians turned the channel. But watching the images post event, I'm left without words with what I saw, in particular that opening ceremony. Not to forget to mention the Last Supper and the mocking of Jesus Christ in that Last Supper parody. But my point is, I think they opened this Olympic ceremony, the rider on the white horse. I think in their minds that was announcing their man with a plan, their Mr. Fix-It. They were announcing the arrival. Now, obviously, we don't know who he is. Maybe he's hiding somewhere, but I just believe he's waiting in the wings right now. And I think that they were cheering for him during the Olympics. And I think that's why that Olympics was such a debacle, an embarrassing debacle. And then they went on to mock everything you and I believe in.
Oh, yeah, it was absolutely awful. Okay, your new book, When Jesus Returns, Living in the Expectation of the End Times, just came out. I have my own copy. I'm excited about that. Thank you. And in your book, you mentioned the increase of global unrest and societal events. How can understanding Bible prophecy help us navigate these turbulent times?
Well, the pathway for the things to come is all outlined in the Bible. Tom, I don't know how the unbeliever copes with the things that are going on. You and I know that everything we see is setting things up for, the final. And you and I even know how it's going to play out. We don't know the intricate details. We don't know the name of the Antichrist, etc. But we know the general pattern. You've got the unbelieving world scratching their heads saying, what on earth is going on? And isn't it a privilege that you and I and many of your listeners, we have the privilege of knowing exactly what's going on. The one world system is being set up. My goodness, America is diminishing in priority, certainly in the last 4 years. But look at the terrible price the world has paid for. Look at Ukraine. Look at the carnage going on in Ukraine. It's a country pushed back to the Stone Age practically because America didn't stand up to Russia and say, enough, you're not getting away with this. So I think that's a heartbreaking story.
Oh, just look at everything, and God tells us the end from the beginning, Isaiah chapter 46, and it's what inspired you to start your ministry, olivetreeviews.org. If people want your book, they can get it from olivetreeviews.org. Mm-hmm. Great. Just go there. Everybody, you can see the link on there. I encourage you to. And also, make sure you sign up for Jan's newsletter. If you haven't yet, we have one, but Jan has one too. I say sign up for both of them. But make sure you do. You are going to be absolutely super blessed. Jan, you just mentioned that, the world, the unsaved world is looking and going, what in the world is going on? We have answered. Your book deals with that to help people navigate and help them to understand how to even talk to others about it. But in that, your fourth point in your newsletter, your article was, Americans said enough is enough. And it wasn't, it wasn't so much Christians that raised up and said enough is enough. It is people who just realize, hey, this is crazy stuff. You wrote this. Americans watched grandmothers be threatened and jailed. They watched a death cult perform at the Democratic National Convention last summer. They learned that kids they care about might have body parts cut off, and they said enough is enough. And it's like, I just, so true at where we are right now, thinking, how do we even get to that place? But at least we have something.
Well, how did we get to this place, Tom? I mean, I can't wrap my brain around it, but thankfully, and I think a real tipping point, going back to that convention last summer, I can't remember what city it was in, but the point is, you had the most vile things going on at that Democrat National Convention last summer. You had people walking around as a birth control device or something. I mean, it was unbelievable. You had abortion services in the parking lot of that convention. And I think some people just said, wait a minute, this is a bridge too far. And they just said enough is enough, and look, it turned the country red again. Not Minnesota, unfortunately, but even your state, California. Some interesting things politically happened there, where I think people said enough to this blatant, ardent liberalism, and let's embrace some more conservative values. It doesn't matter who they voted for. The point is the mindset changed.
The mindset did change, and hopefully things will progress rapidly forward, and hopefully Christians, genuine believers, will take advantage of the window we have to share
exactly.
to share the gospel.
It's a window, exactly right, and we need to be seizing the moment, right?
You also wrote about this in that same point. Proper warnings have been given about human political saviors, but who can blame the people when we say enough? We look, you go, wait a minute, we still have to, I think Deuteronomy chapter 1 says, choose the men who are going to serve over you. Yeah. It's that understanding. But it doesn't mean that we think this person is the savior.
Of course
to me, it's kind of absurd.
Yeah, and I think that's what we get accused of all the time, and that's not what we're saying. I mean, I think, Tom, you and I know that things in this world and even in this country are winding down. I mean, my head spins with all the things that are kind of apocalyptic. So we're not glorifying any presidential candidate, but this last election was something else because the contrast was really quite stark. Now, I know we've even got Christian leaders saying that's not true, and I mean, they're even saying they're not going to vote, and shame on them. That's all I can say. Shame on them for not taking part in the process that's even outlined in the Bible.
Yeah, I look at dynamics. I have a couple more questions for you, and then I want to shift over to Israel and what's happening to the Jews. Your fifth point in your article, America was spared the assassination of a presidential candidate by less than a centimeter, but hateful leftists won't politely fade away or go quietly into the night. Many saw the jaw-dropping event on live TV, gave the whole meaning of the predicted perilous times. God's hand of protection was the biggest takeaway. There's actually people who try to say that was staged. I mean, that's as ridiculous as a statement as you could make on that one.
That's lunacy. I'm sorry. No, I've never seen anything quite like that, Tom. And I was watching it live, and I saw the whole thing play out. And the consequences that could have happened are staggering. And we could have had a country thrown into complete chaos, and maybe even anarchy. And God spared us from that, thank God.
Yeah, I look at that, and it's a reminder God is sovereign.
Yes.
And like you said in the very beginning of our program today, listen, the prophetic clock is moving forward. There's nothing that's happening that's causing God to not move his prophetic clock forward.
Yeah.
While you're talking about that with Revelation chapter 13, this global system will be here. The mark of the beast will be here. I think of the words of Daniel chapter 9, verse 24, where God says, 70 weeks are determined. It is settled, Daniel. It will happen.
Yes, yes.
And then he says, for your people, for the holy city, it's settled. God has a time frame. He gives us all of his word so we can understand the days we live in. I mean, that's the name of your ministry. It's being able to understand these things.
Yeah, well, my hope, Tom, is that in the new year, the remnant, and you know what I mean by the remnant, and we're a small community, but that it will grow substantially here in the new year. And people will grow in faith, they'll grow in their interest of wanting to understand the times, contend for the faith, and be watchmen on the wall. My concern is that the remnant is growing smaller, but because the church is silent. I mean, it's hard to grow anything when the pulpits aren't talking, some of them anyway, aren't talking about things that really matter.
Well, it seems like the majority of them aren't.
Majority are not.
I'm curious, Jan, we're going to shift our attention to Israel here. But as just with what you just mentioned, the church has become more and more divided over the last 5 years. We can see it. And with that, as we watch the latest events from the election and what's happened to Israel since October 7, 2023, all the way to today, I reflect back on the Holocaust, the days of the Nazi, when churches were, this is what from the biographies I read, basically what the majority of churches said is, we're just going to sing and we're going to worship Jesus. We're not going to be involved in those things. It's like the exact same thing is happening. And how many of these pastors have said, oh no, I would never be like the Nazis, but you look, I mean, listen, I'm not saying it is the Holocaust right now, but this is this pattern. Do you see that same pattern?
Yeah. Something happened on October the 7th, and something, I hate to use the word demonic, but it's demonic-like anyway. The churches were silent after October 7th. They might have said one sentence about what happened. Like, obviously, there are exceptions, and some churches are very, very great, but by and large, they were quiet. And this was a bridge too far for a lot of people attending those churches, and they had to move on because the church was taking a stand by its silence. And they were basically saying, we don't really care. And just as you referred, Tom, the churches in Nazi Germany, and I just saw Bonhoeffer, a great movie, they chose to sing a little bit louder and drown out the cries of the Jews going by in the trains behind the building. And in their own way, the churches today are singing a little bit louder, and they're ignoring what's going on the ground here, and that began in modern time, in our generation, October the 7th of last year. Nothing will ever be the same after that date. Something was speeded up on October the 7th. I can't fully explain it, but Israel is now not just in the center of the storm, it's in the bullseye of the storm.
It is indeed. When I think of the words in Revelation chapter 19, verse 10, the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy, or this just speaks volumes to the ministry that you have, because we hear churches say, I just need more Jesus. I don't need prophecy.
Yes.
Well, according to the Bible, if you want more Jesus, you have to have more prophecy. If the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. And again, I want to thank you. You know, I know we have still a few more minutes, but I just want to thank you for being such an encouragement and such a blessing and blazing the trail for so many years now, just doing this and giving people like me inspiration to press forward.
Well, thank you. I mean, our community, as I said, is small, but we rely on pastors like you. We really do.
Number 6 on your article, twice we watched Israel attacked with a massive Iranian bombardment, and twice we watched the miracle of Iron Dome. I totally agree. Yeah, look at that, and David Sling and the arrow systems. Truly amazing.
Well, what we really saw was he who keeps Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. We can give all the credit we want to the Iron Dome, and it's amazing. It's a miracle. But who gave, I think America created it for Israel, but who gave the scientists the idea to create it? God did, because he who keeps Israel, Psalm 121, neither slumbers nor sleeps. I don't know if there's any takeaway from our short time today. I hope that's what it would be. But then at the same time, he who keeps the believer neither slumbers nor sleeps, and that's a huge takeaway. There are people going through tough times right now as they're viewing this.
Yep, indeed they are, and God is the one who keeps us. In fact, now you mentioned, Jan, I just want to encourage everybody, if you're going through a difficult thing right now, remember, God is on the throne.
Yeah.
God will be glorified in you. God will direct your steps. Sometimes we make our plans. He directs our steps. But
Yes.
God will minister to you. He will give you his peace. I was listening to a worship song from years ago on the way here this morning. He is our peace. Old Maranatha worship song.
Yes, yes.
And he is. And no matter what it is, listen, our citizenship is in heaven. It's not of this world. Be encouraged. I want, as I look at what's going on with Israel, well, speaking of the Iranian bombardment, you know, he never sleeps or slumbers who keeps Israel. I mean, you look back and you say, you have the brilliance of Iron Dome, David Sling, Arrow Systems, the pagers, the walkie-talkies,
Exactly.
things they are doing right now. But again, I think back to the Old Testament. God says, I've given you a mouth to speak. I've taught you how to do these different things. God is the one who's sovereign. because he was bringing up his people through the Jews, which takes me to number 7. It has, in your newsletter, it has become cool, fashionable, and even acceptable to hate Jews worldwide.
Well, I wasn't prepared for the outpouring of anti-Semitism that we've been seeing, and I, since October the 7th. I mean, shouldn't that be a rallying cry to stand by Israel? Sadly, it became a rallying cry to support Hamas. Who cheers for Hamas? The whole world cheers for Hamas. That's what we saw after October 7th of 2023, cheering for Hamas. I call it having sympathy for the devil. That's not a Rolling Stones song I'm referring to. I'm referring to right now.
Yeah, and so with that, with the Jews, for all of your viewers, because a lot of people, they might be new to Bible prophecy, or even if they've been studying Bible prophecy for a long time, following you for a long time, it's still kind of challenging for them to realize why does this happen to the Jews?
Yeah.
Why has it happened throughout history? What's the significance of it with Bible prophecy? What would you say to them?
Well, it's a very ominous thing to become a chosen people. I mean, there are consequences when you're a chosen people. I kind of have a saying, Tom, that Israel is kind of the center of the storm, followed by Jerusalem, followed by the Temple Mount. Well, lo and behold, all three of those things are within Israel. They're not in Minneapolis and they're not in Southern California. For some reason, God put a bullseye on his covenant land. Why? We'll ask him someday, probably soon. But for some reason, that's the target, and that's where everything is directed in the so-called last days. And you've been there multiple, I've been there multiple times, and every time we go, something all new hits us that we'd never seen before, that's amazing, that's pointing to the lateness of the hour. I mean, you have to go there to see it, to believe it.
You do. I try to tell people all the time.
You can't.
It's like you can't, even you may be a believer, you may love the Bible and study it, pull out commentaries, go to church all the time, taught on it, but when you go there, your eyes get open to something that is just, it's really unbelievable in a very remarkable way. I tell people all the time, hey, come with me to Israel. I promise you'll be blessed. Speaking of, Jan, one time I was leading a tour, and a couple people on the tour that were dead set that the temple was in the city of David. And I said, when you get to Jerusalem, I think you'll have another understanding when you actually see everything up close and personal. And it does. It helps you to really put things together. There's another couple that was with me. They're real estate brokers. And we were looking at the Temple Mount, and they were talking about real estate in Israel and everything. I said, you see that piece of real estate right there? Yeah. The person who can make a deal on that,
there you go.
He's the Antichrist. And I said, so there you go. But
that is ground zero, Tom. That is truly ground zero.
That is ground zero. You have in here number 8. You talked a little bit about it already. If you want to comment further, the remnant got smaller. Those who truly understand the times, you wrote, those who are longing for his appearing, and those who discern the times are shrinking in number.
Well, I'd love to think that our community is growing, and it is, but not like I would like to see it grow. But I go back, I'm a little bit repetitious, in that if the pulpits are quiet, sometimes the people in the pews don't know quite what to believe. They don't even know that they should be awaiting his return. I mean, that's why you and I are in ministry, Tom, is to get people excited that the king is coming any day. But when you've got the silent pulpit, then that's problematic, because then the people don't get excited like they should.
No. Jan, do you find it more challenging or more pressure against you as you continue to press forward with Bible prophecy? More resistance, I guess I might say.
Yeah, I think so. And I hear from pastors, and some are very supportive, and others, part of the problem is theology, if I can be blunt. I mean, we've got so many theologies that, they're off base. Most of the church believes in what's known as amillennialism, that we're in the millennium right now. Really? Who knew? I didn't see a lion and a lamb lying together, but that's what they believe. Most believe replacement theology. The church is Israel. Some believe in preterism, that all that we're talking about took place in 70 AD. So we are in a battle with theology every minute of every day, and that's coming from the church and the seminaries. Seminaries and churches are leading people astray. And that's why I believe our community is growing smaller, not larger. I do.
I agree. I'm hoping that some pastors will open up their doors a little bit more to these things, but I'm definitely experiencing that same thing. Number 9, you wrote, the world has sympathy for the devil. You alluded to this a little bit already. As you said, Hamas is cheered and celebrated.
Well, do people even remember the hostages? The hostages have disappeared from sight. There's still dozens of them in the tunnels underneath Gaza.
And that's no accident. I think by our American media and our current presidential administration, because they wouldn't even bring up the American hostages that were there. I think they didn't want it to be. I mean, we look at the dynamics of the world seems to have sympathy for the devil. Going back to your earlier point about the Olympics, and you're going, what in the world? Everything that comes out of Hollywood, just all these things, they're all going one direction.
Well, he's the prince and power of the air. There's no question about that. And that doesn't mean we shouldn't try to come against all of this with what we're doing, Tom. But it just would help if we had a little more cooperation. Again, go back to seminaries and the pulpits. If they're going to be quiet, the people are confused, and the people don't know up from down.
Number 10 is creation keeps groaning more than ever. And you reference Romans chapter 8, verse 22, suggests that this will happen with more intensity as we get closer to Christ's return. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, well, Romans 8:22, and there it just simply says that creation, in other words, the terrible hurricanes and all the so-called natural disasters, that they're going to increase the closer we get to the rapture. My goodness, we have to be at the door of the rapture if that is the case. How do you look at the southeast part of America, and that's one segment, it's all over the world where that's going on, and not realize that indeed creation is groaning as Romans 8, but I believe that's a herald of his return, and I believe that's what the Bible says. I'm going to believe it. As we get nearer to Christ's return, some of these things will accelerate.
Jan, as we began the program today, talked about, again, I know we talked about a couple times, but God's timing, everything is going to happen according to God's timing. Does it seem to you that a lot of people are just like, oh, we got more time now. We don't really, okay, I'm not worried about Jesus coming back right now. We got more time. We've just been bought some time. Do you sense that?
Yeah, and maybe that's the downside of the election, is that I think a lot of people are relaxing again and thinking, well, we don't have a lot we've got a more conservative administration, and they're going to stand up on the world stage, but that's a false assurance, because I don't believe that's what God wants us to have in mind. He wants us to be looking up and expecting him at any minute. I am awaiting his return. I don't care who's in Washington. I'm awaiting his return.
Amen. Yeah, we look to Jesus Christ. I want to go back to your book here in a second and ask you something on there. But I also want to encourage everybody, again, subscribe to Jan's newsletters. You are going to be absolutely blessed. Make sure you go there.
Thank you, Tom.
You can see the links. You can see how to connect with her. If you don't already, I know many of you already do. But Jan is such an inspiration. And Jan, I'm going to throw this out there. So I do I think you know, it's a New Year's Eve prophecy update every year.
Yes.
I have one coming up this year at Calvary Chapel of the Harbor in Huntington Beach. I'm excited about with Joe Pettick. I think Lee Brainerd's joining me too.
Great.
Yeah, it's going to be good. But you know what I do? I've been doing this for years. Because you've been I probably shouldn't confess this, but I'm going to. So you publish your newsletter. You've been doing this for years, the top 10 stories, and something to that effect. I've taken those top 10 stories and I've said, hey, these are great. This is such a great format because you're trying to engage the people. But I want you to know, I always give you credit. I always say, Jan Markell has her letter. And then we go for it from there because there's so much that people need to know. And again, God tells us to end from the beginning, Isaiah chapter 46. Why? So we would know.
Yeah, well, I loved your update last January 1st. It was tremendous. So I'm looking forward to this year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really good. Okay, when Jesus returns, living in the end times. You have your foreword by Amir Tsarfati. This is just great. Hidden in plain view, the New World Order. Jeff Kinley has a chapter, The Primacy of Jesus Christ in Revelation. Yep. Michelle Bachman, Mark Hitchcock, Our Blessed Hope, The Rapture of the Church. You have Jack Hibbs, Ed Hindson. How'd you get him?
The late Ed Hindson. Because all of these folks have spoken at my conference here in the Twin Cities. And Ed was with me in 2013.
This is great. Erwin Lutzer, 1 minute after you die. I look at all these different topics that are in here. So this is a warning about things, but it's also a wake-up call, and it's a preparation. It's a great tool to get to somebody who doesn't know the Lord. Just say, hey, here's something you might want to read.
Well, I hope so. Everything's very easy to understand. There's nothing deeply theological, but at the same time, theology is hugely important. We've already referenced that.
Yep. Okay, Jan, last question. With so much uncertainty and darkness in the world, it seems like, people are just waiting for the next shoe to drop.
Yeah, good way of
Believers
putting
and non-believers. How can Christians find hope and peace, and what role do we play, or the believers play in that hope?
Well, I hope that we're encouraging one another, Tom. That's Hebrews 10:25, and that's really a commandment. And that means we think a whole lot less about ourselves and we start focusing on others. First of all, share the plan of salvation with those who don't know it. But, I think if people would just consciously think to encourage one or two people every day, tell them something that would make their day, because everyone needs that kind of encouragement right now. We are being beaten down, so to speak, emotionally speaking anyway. So let's keep that Hebrews 10:25 in mind and be encouragers. Focus less on ourselves and more on others, and always look up. If you don't look up, you're going to be discouraged and defeated.
No kidding. That's like Peter when he's walking on the water, when he took his eyes off of Jesus, he started to sink. Keep your eyes fixed on Christ, and you'll do good. Everybody, listen again, I want to remind you can connect with Jan, olivetreeviews.org. Subscribe to her newsletter. Also, you can get her book. She has it at olivetreeviews.org. You can go over to her website and get it there. You're going to be encouraged. You're also going to want to give it to a friend. So I would say go for it. And Jan, thank you so much for joining me today, taking time out of that super cold weather back there.
Yep. And, thank you, Tom. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. You really are such a blessing. God bless you, everybody. Thank you for joining us today.